Well, at our press briefing this week, we have Mr. Teare, the man of the moment. A busy week for you, following on from the budget. But I really want to start, though, first of all, that you are basically running the government. You're in charge at the moment. Mr. Bell's off ill. Do we have any more updates yet on his situation and when he might return?
Well, I'm pleased to say he'll be back very, very soon. I have been visiting Alan whilst he's been off, and saw him again last night. He's the old Alan, firing on all cylinders, and I expect him back very, very soon. I think people need to recognise that the Chief Minister is the conductor of the orchestra, and I'm lucky I've got a very good team, and that was demonstrated in Tynwald this week, where the council ministers worked together as a team, and on the budget debate and the debates which came in afterwards, we were firing on all cylinders, and that's no credit to me. That's the team.
You got your budget through, but you had a couple of people against it. I presume you were expecting those ones to vote against. Nothing unusual. I mean, overall, you must be happy.
Overall, I was pleased. I was pleased that the Tynwald members recognised that this was good for the vulnerable sector of the economy, and we're putting the building blocks in place where we could make transformational changes to the tax system for next year. When we say at a stroke we can take 10,000 people out of the tax net, that's got to be good news, because they're lower paid, and by inference in a way some of them more vulnerable. And also too, we're putting in place as changes to the filing of tax returns, where for a significant number of people there'll be no need to complete a tax return because we have the information there already. Their employers have sent details of their pay. So we'll be able to actually send them an assessment, and we reckon that that'll take another 20,000 people out of the need to actually send in a tax return.
Why are you doing a 2-year plan, though? Is this purely some sort of electioneering going on here for people to be able to get things in place before they hit the hustings?
Oh, surely not, Paul. No, this is purely logistics, this. And it's cash flow as well. We've altered a couple of aspects of the tax system, which will bring forward revenue. And also 2 years ago, I brought in the tax on big retailers. Now, that cash flow was just starting to come in, but it will have built up to its full potential by 16-17. So at that time, I anticipate that we'll have the funding available to actually do what I'd like to do then. And what I'm working towards is a point where nobody will be worse off. It's a big ask, but that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay. I asked people if they had any questions, and one that came up from more than one person actually was about what's going to happen to the 10% mortgage relief when we go to the 20% tax at £14,000.
In effect, the monetary tax relief will be the same. So in other words, they will, if they're claiming, for example, £10,000 in interest paid, then what we'll do is we say, well, that's really 5,000 at 20%. So in other words, they will not suffer because of that. And we're actually factoring in all these equations now as part of our data mining, you might call it. And I've asked the Assessor of Income Tax to run a few scenarios through the system for me and see how it all stacks up. But we're working on this now. We're going out to public consultation because it is quite a far-ranging proposal. So we need the public to come back to us, ask questions such as the one you've asked me now.
So nothing's set in stone. You're really just putting it out there at the moment what you want to do, but you haven't made all the definite decisions yet, though.
No. What we're doing is we're flagging up a direction of travel, Paul, that we think is reasonable in the circumstances and something that we'd like to do. As I said before, we don't have the monopoly on being right. We want to make sure that when it is implemented, any glitches that may be there have been identified and dealt with as well.
What about the things we always keep hearing you were going to look at, like the Tesco tax, as calling it, and also the Christmas bonus for pensioners, all these ones that keep coming up, I'm talking to you all year round. What have you done with those sort of things? I didn't hear particularly about them.
The Tesco tax is still there, the so-called Tesco tax is still there. And as I said before, that cash flow was building up from that tax. The Christmas bonus, etc., that's all going to be addressed as part of the reform to the welfare and benefit system. The first week in March, I'm holding a series of 4 public meetings, and this is intended to be informative and also set the scene for a major public consultation. We have to acknowledge that the welfare system was actually drafted and formed in the 1940s, 70 years ago. It's been tinkered with since. Society's changed and changed quite dramatically. Longevity has changed and quite dramatically for the good, but the system itself really hasn't changed. It's been tinkered with.
So you're asking people to come along to, I think it's 4 different debates, isn't it, on here?
That's
You've
right.
got. Is this like the big debate? You're going to have voting machines and all that sort of thing, or are you just talking to the audience?
Well, I'm not talking to them. Basically what I'm doing is it's going to be a 3-sided approach. The first will be, we'll set the scene. This is where we are now. And then these are the options. And then the final bit is, what do you think about those options? So I may do a power vote then. We're still working on it now. I've done the structure, the main part of the presentation has been done. But what we want to do is we want to learn and inform people as well.
You'll have the usual people, of course, at these meetings. You know that, do you? Because you just have people who want to go to those sort of things. Most people will just sit back and not bother.
They will, but if we can get a bit of energy and enthusiasm, then and get as many people involved as possible to respond to the public consultation, then I think we've done well. But we're also intending to speak to the Junior Chamber of Commerce. I think it's the 8th of March. I'm speaking to the Junior Chamber of Commerce, giving them a presentation. And the other thing we're looking at this time too is doing a presentation to the College of Further Education, because it doesn't really affect people like me of my age and my generation. It affects the next generation and the generation after that. So we need to make sure that their voices are heard and that they contribute to the debate as well.
Interestingly, your briefing you give us, we've now covered it for a few years, and each year more and more people have actually watched it. And this year it's our top 10 straight away, which is quite interesting. So people, maybe I should rephrase that people are taking more interest in things.
And I think too, as we move closer to the general election, people will become more energised as well. But this is a once-in-a-generation decision that people will have to make, and I'd like to think that they will participate, and I'll do anything and everything within my power to make sure that they participate. It does put a strain. I'm a professional speaker, up to a point, but it does put a strain on you holding public meetings, and we're doing 4 in succession in the 1 week, and then following up the following week.
Well, I mean, I came to the big debate in Peel. I waited, I thought, until the last one to see what was going on. What we couldn't show on the video, because it went on for hours, was how much interaction there was between the people that in that room who weren't happy just to sit back and just take, you know, your thing. Were you? Is that what you want more of, or is that difficult for you to deal with, or what?
No, it is difficult to deal with. It's stimulating, it's interesting, but also if people come back at you and make their views known, at least you understand their side as well.
But there was only 19 or so people in that particular version, which was the open one.
It was, yeah.
Disappointing, that sort of thing, isn't
it? It was quite interesting, though, that where we actually asked people to apply for an invitation, the attendance was much, much better. And also, too, there was a wider age range there, because I'm sure you noticed at Peel that there was just one age of people there. Tended to be the older retired people.
Of course, I mean, I should deal with this now that the person you were doing that with, Chris Robertshaw, is no longer in government. Your views on Chris Robertshaw departing and the way he did it?
I'm very sad to see him go, genuinely sad. I liked working with Chris, too, was a very similar political philosophy, and we did work well together. I can understand his frustration at times, but then we all get frustrated. Chris wanted to resign. He resigned, but he's been a gentleman, so I've got no problem with it.
It was a big bust-up though in CoMin, right?
No, it wasn't a big bust-up. We have our differences of opinion. We always have differences of opinion, and you'd expect that because there's various political views around the table. This isn't, as some would say, a one-party system driven by patronage. No, it's a wide range of political views in a single room. Now, it isn't like the UK where you have one party in the main in power, and that one party has the manifesto, the Chief Minister, and the Chief Minister can, in effect, using his whips, drive that policy through. The Chief Minister here has a much more difficult role, and the best analogy I could use is herding cats.
Right. Okay. John Shimon coming back in. Was this all planned? I mean, the way it seems, it's all very convenient the way he was brought back in DED. Then the next minute he's working in the Cabinet Office. Next minute he's running the whole thing again.
No, there was no ulterior motive here. It definitely wasn't planned. What I recommended to the Chief Minister was that we wanted as little disruption as possible. We've got to bear in mind now we only got 18 months to go of this administration. So anybody new going into a department as a minister, it takes a few months to get up to speed with the things that need to be done, and then you need to think about how you're going to achieve that. So they just run out of time. At least John Shimon, very experienced, very able minister, he's already working in the Cabinet Department. He's up to speed with what the issues are, and Chris has laid down the foundation stones, and John will build on them. There's no change of policy. We're moving on. It's just that there's going to be a different person driving that forward.
UK budget is coming up next. Does that ever really have much implications on what you've already set down here already? I mean, it could be things like the passenger air transport taxes can be changed, and then you normally, well, you are following suit, aren't you, on that one, for instance? I mean, are there things you have to be wary of about what might happen?
There are, because you recall about 3 years ago, I think it was, when the UK Chancellor failed to raise excise duty on road fuel, and that left us light about £2.5 million in our budget. And I was criticised for actually including that in our budget, even though the Chancellor had said he was going to raise it in his autumn statement the previous year. So we sort of said, yeah, okay, we'll factor that. We'll take that from his autumn statement, put it into our budget figures. And then when he said, no, I'm not going to do it, I thought, oh, right, that is the problem. And we were roundly criticised for actually doing that. This year, I say the biggest variables are fuel duty, but with the present level of fuel at the pumps, it would seem madness for the UK Chancellor to cut fuel duty at this moment. So I think maybe I'm pushing my luck here. I think that we'll be all right to rely on that. So overall, I don't think that there will be anything that's going to affect us. I would suspect that what he'll do will be changes to the tax system, because that will help with the election more than anything else.
Other things, though, that you wouldn't have done, for instance, like the airport tax, for instance, if you know, the passenger transport tax thing, if he hadn't tinkled with it, would you have done it here? I mean, I know you know, overall, you're looking for money still, so you're quite happy when they do things there, and you can just slap it on here, for instance. Yeah,
it is, but you've got to recognise too that the aircraft operators operate in the Isle of Man and the UK. We don't fly from Ronaldsway up to Andreas, for example, so they always go into the UK, so there would be APD on one leg of the journey. So it makes it simpler for the aircraft operators if we do follow the UK, and it does make sense. It is logical.
Okay. Before we finish, I have to ask, are you thinking of standing again?
At the moment, I genuinely don't know. It depends on my health at the time and also the health of Irene. Irene has been absolutely brilliant, and I couldn't really do anything without her. So we're a team, and I need to make sure that the team are up for it. So I'll be making a decision about this time next year, but thank you for asking.